Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Will Fortier, the CEO of Hive Group. Will, it's so great to have you.
Thanks for having me on, Terry.
Let's start with talking about Hive. You've positioned yourself really as a disruptor in the federal contracting space. Are there specific technology or process innovations that have helped you most transform your organization?
I think that that's something that every organization is going through at this moment in time. I think some of the enablers that we've certainly benefited from would be, the cloud service providers. That has completely revolutionized how we interact with our solutions. When I entered the GovCon space, we were still on print and file servers, and version control was a huge issue, and just moving towards collaborative tools like Google Suites and Microsoft Teams has allowed us to actually collaborate on the artifacts that we're building for our clients and communicate. I mean, could you imagine going through a pandemic without those cloud service providers? I mean, that has been a big game changer for us and how we affect our clients' missions. But what we've been focusing on are things like improving decision support systems across our clients' platforms and enabling them to just getting the right information into the decision makers' hands and enabling that decision making process much faster and much more efficient, trying to take out errors, trying to increase automation and reliability of that data.
Do you find that your innovations are driven more by your client demands or by Hive anticipating what they will want?
Yeah, I think it's always a mixture of both. I think that, just in our name itself, Hive Group, we've got a lot. Our people are in the field. Our labs are in the field. We're responding to client demand, but we also have this collection of subject matter expertise in-house. All of our leadership are practitioners in the industry. They've delivered solutions to clients themselves, and so when we're brought into discussion with our teams in the delivery on the delivery side, what we end up doing is synthesizing what they're doing and then using our experience to then pull that information in-house and try to build something on top of that might be useful to the clients, might give some benefit, and not only that, but sharing from what we're doing on one client engagement on other client engagements as well. So we've developed things like Hexacore, which is a delivery excellence framework that we employ in all our delivery teams, and then Hive IQ as well is something else that we've instituted, which is really information sharing and getting best practices from what one team is doing into another team's skill set.
You started to talk about some of your specific products there. It's a crowded federal contracting space. How do you use those kinds of products and other techniques or strategies to differentiate Hive?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's been a lot of innovation in the space, and certainly there's been a lot of top-down pressure, which is really making it a lot of people taking stabs at trying to innovate. Whether we're building the tools themselves or we're developing partnerships with those that actually have really good tools as well. I mean, it's a mixture between both of those sides of the coin. We've got a lot of what we do is focused around the reinvestment of what we're doing. I mean, we've had a quick and fast growth trajectory since the start of the company, and so what we're doing is taking that money and it's allowing us to reinvest into what we're able to offer as far as our solutions to our clients, and that is that allows us to also get deeper and specialize in some of those areas that we're focusing on.
You talked about that rapid scaling and growth. Are there any particular critical decisions that have enabled you to scale without losing your quality control?
Yes, scaling. That is something that, as a practitioner in the field, I think a lot of us don't really get faced with those kinds of questions until you're either in the C-suite or in the ownership seat yourself. And so what What we do, I think it's kind of two-part. One is internal. It's making sure that the right people are on the right seats on the bus, because what got you to 50 people isn't necessarily the same configuration that's going to work when you're scaling up to 200. And so you got to keep that in mind, and that's something that you learn when you're actually sitting in that seat. And then the next is externally. I think that you looking at your support providers is a real game changer. Getting the right support providers can be a real force multiplier, and making those mistakes can also cost you a lot of effort and time down the road. And there's certainly some examples of that. One would be getting good advice. Not surprising to anybody, but having good legal advice is a really obvious thing to have. But one that kind of caught me by surprise was banking relationships. And so when you start out, the company, you kind of whoever give you a line of credit and some treasury is usually who you end up starting with. But as you start to scale up, your needs do change. And so I remember our CFO, Ryan Fuller, came to me and said, "Hey, I think that's time that we kind of look at some other options," and got into the why. We ended up going with J.P. Morgan Chase, and once we did that, I really started realizing how important banking relationships are. Bringing people, hearing from the SMEs on what direction the market is going. Getting to meet with other business owners and sort of collaborating with them on what they're going through, all those kinds of those offerings that the right support provider can provide is just it certainly has affected who we are as a business and how we operate.
That is such important insight, and it sounds like a lesson learned maybe the hard way through experience.
Yeah. There's you can start your QuickBooks is a great tool.
Right.
Probably not going to get you to it's probably not something you want to scale on. But yeah, I mean, the tools that you start out with are great, and they certainly have a place. But the partnerships that they need to evolve along with how you scale.
You also mentioned the importance of having the right people in the right seats on the bus, everybody's favorite leadership analogy. But what are your tricks of the trade in terms of making sure that you have the right people in those right seats, especially in cleared positions, and how do you maintain culture as you're growing your organization?
Yeah, the culture question is we could spend an hour on that alone, and that has certainly faced some challenges with COVID and the separation of a lot of folks going remote. But when it comes to talent retention, I think it's one of the most important things that we've focused on. It's important not to just drop your team member off at a client site and say good luck. When our employees look around, what we focus on is putting an emphasis around lifting our people, which is actually one of our core pillars as an organization. And in doing that, we try to focus and work with our client sets on finding opportunities for people to have a growth path. And when we do that, it's more than just a sales pitch. I mean, the employees that are coming in can take a quick look around and see some folks who might have joined our organization with at an entry level and are now a part of the leadership team. And so finding those kinds of candidates is certainly what we strive for, and that's the kind of culture that we want to build and support. But then there's really a part of the secret sauce is how you hire, which is very different depending on the organizations that you go to. I think that what we try to focus on is more the total picture. I mean, some bigger mistakes that we see both on the government side as well as the industry side is making a hiring decision just because the person has done similar work before. Instead of focusing on the culture fit, is this person professionally curious? Are they going to emulate the qualities and the core values that you're trying to establish throughout the organization? And look, nobody bats 1,000 in doing that, but it is something that we consciously try to keep in mind when we're building out our teams.
So we've talked a little bit about what makes Hive different, your scaling strategy, your workforce strategy. But there's a lot that's changing in the GovCon space right now. So if you're looking forward 5 years, how do you think Hive will change to continue to be competitive in the market?
Yeah, so there is a lot. I mean, there's a lot changing. To say that things are changing right now doesn't feel like a strong enough phrase. But one of the things that we want to focus on, and we could go on about all the different kinds of capabilities that we're trying to implement for clients. But one that's near and dear to my heart is certainly the acquisition process. You're seeing a lot in that discussion nowadays, and certainly with the revolutionary FAR overhaul, you're seeing a lot of recommended change for how the government goes about procuring things. So I think that there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen. There's certainly a lot of innovation that we can work towards in that realm. One of the things that we've started at Hive Group is the Industry Partner Council, and that is a collection of really the big 20, and altogether there's 200 businesses all throughout the GovCon space that are in varying degrees participating in it. And what we're aimed to do is really just strengthening that conversation between contracting activities and industry, and trying to find ways to educate each other, break down those barriers, get us talking more. And there's certainly, with as much change that is going on right now, we've got to also keep those avenues to talk and discuss what's working and what's not working. So that's one avenue that we're hoping continues to stick, and certainly getting more contracting activities on board with it.
I'd like to thank today's guest, Will Fortier, the CEO of Hive Group. I'm Terry Gerton, and you've been watching the series discussion Fed Pulse, Government Contractors to Watch, sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search JP Morgan Chase.